Hey everybody, it's Chris Pearce with the Pearce Law Group coming to you from our main office in Myrtle Beach. I want to talk with you briefly today about some things we're seeing in relation to changes in the probate law in South Carolina. As most people likely know, our legislature tends to get together once or twice a year and review and adopt certain areas of law or changes in law that they think are necessary. In the spring of 2025, one of those items, or two of those items actually, were related to probate law. The first matter, and some people debate whether it was more important than the second one or not, but the first thing that we see that has been changed is in relation to small estates. South Carolina has always recognized that small estates are not the same as medium to large size estates. The problem was, and to some extent remains, is that the legislature's limits on the dollar value of what constitutes a small estate was $25,000. As we all know, in today's world, $25,000 is not going to get you very far in relation to someone's personal estate at the time of their death. And what the legislature did was they upped that limit on the administration of small estates. Sometimes it's called a summary probate process or proceeding. They've upped that dollar amount to $45,000. Now, that number is still too low in my opinion, but what it does do is when you couple that higher number with certain estate exemptions that the law allows, people with smaller estates can now utilize this method of simpler and faster probate administration. What we would encourage you to do is if you're a caretaker or a family member of someone and you believe you're going to potentially end up being responsible for that person's estate, whether you've been formally named as a possible PR or you just know from the reality of things that you're going to end up having to take care of it, if you believe that person's estate would fall into this small estate gathering or setting, we would suggest you reach out to us and talk with us about that beforehand so that we can guide you before someone's death into how best to posture that matter for a summary probate or small estates proceeding. The second thing that the the legislature changed was they've actually created something new. And the interesting part of this is it's called a title on death designation, which one of the biggest problems in probate court that we see across the board, whether it's a small or a larger estate, is how do you handle the personal property? Things like cars, boats, mobile homes, outboard engines, anything that requires a registration and title in South Carolina has to typically go through the probate process. Traditionally, we've had a workaround with that where we list like a husband and wife's name both on the title, that type of thing. But someone would still be forced to go down to the DMV or DNR and actually complete that transfer using the probate process. What this new law enacted by the legislature in the spring of 2025 does is it creates a new type of title for those types of personal property. The issue there is that now you can go request from DMV, DNR, or whoever holds the registration and title to your personal property to create a title or deed that is called a transferable on death designation title. What that allows, folks, is for you to preemptively move all of your personal property that is controlled by a title or registration of South Carolina outside of the probate proceedings. That can be very helpful in limiting the amount of work to be done in a probate matter. It can also limit the dollar amount involved with somebody's estate, which can have repercussions as well. But consider the idea that somebody has a large, valuable collection of cars or boats or you name it. The value of those things sometimes can be hundreds, if not millions of dollars. By virtue of using this new title on death registration with those vehicles or boats, you can effectively remove whatever that dollar amount is out of the probate process, and it can be handled in a very streamlined and quick manner. So again, if you are one of those folks that has a lot of personal property that is controlled by a title or registration in South Carolina, we would highly recommend that you investigate this title on death designation further And certainly, as always, we would be willing to talk with you about that and see if that type of designation would be appropriate for you to pursue moving forward. But again, a lot of times probate matters become complicated when folks have not really thought it through or planned it properly. This is another tool that we can use to move personal property outside of probate, which is a goal that most people have, and we can do it easily and effectively. So if you have questions or concerns about that change in the law in the probate area in May of 2025, please reach out to us and let us talk with you about that at your convenience. Thank you.